Alright, everybody, this is Zaid Deki, and welcome to From Pimp to Jesus. This channel, I actually made this channel to really put testimonial videos on and let people know exactly what happened with me, how I transitioned from a life of sin to worshiping Christ and believing in Christ wholeheartedly, and believing in the resurrection. It wasn't always like that. I sometimes was actually confused at most of the times when I started my journey. And I'm not perfect. I'm not going to tell anybody I'm perfect. I'm a human being. There's things that I struggle with. I'm not a perfect person, so I want you guys to understand that. And once you understand that, you can know exactly how my life is. I'll be going on a lot of those. A lot of that information. All right. Okay. Well, to start out, I was originally born in Liberia. I grew up in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I left Liberia when I was between 1 and 2 years old, around there. And I've been living in the Minneapolis area since I was 4 or 5 years old. I used to live in New Jersey and Philadelphia, and I used to live out there. I used to, go to a specific elementary school in Minneapolis, in a Minneapolis suburb, right off the edge of Minneapolis, the city limits. There's a suburb called Brooklyn Center over there, Brooklyn Park, Brooklyn Center. They're kind of twin city suburbs. They're right near each other, Brooklyn Park and Brooklyn Center. So they're on the border, and I grew up in the city itself, but I went to my first memories of going to school in Minnesota was in Minneapolis, in the Brooklyn Center suburb, and the school called Earl Brown. You guys can check that out online. Earl Brown was a nice school. As far as I remember, I had a kindergarten teacher over there. She used to be I used to like her so much. I forgot her name. Yeah, it was Miss Chaden. Miss Chaden was my favorite teacher. In preschool, I went to preschool in Minnesota as well. So all my early memories was of Minneapolis. I have memories in New Jersey as well. I was 3 when I was out there. Yeah. So, all right. So my dad was well, now he's not, but my dad was a politician back in the 90s, in the late 80s. He was a politician. He was a minister in Liberia. All right. So when I was born, my dad was in a position of a minister. He was a minister of lands and mines. If you guys don't know, minister of lands and mines in the country, these are people who handle the energy sector. So my dad had he was included in things like gold and gold and diamonds and things like that. He was in that sector. He would people would come to him and have gold or diamonds or something, and he'd sign off on things or send his colleagues or people that worked under him to diamond fields and gold mines and stuff like that to make sure everybody had the paperwork right. And he was supposed to report to the president, things that are happening. That's what happens in countries. If you have a country, a minister would work under the president, and then the president would tell him, basically, the minister would tell the president, oh, okay, we're doing this, when the president would agree to it, or he might not agree to it. I don't know. I'm not in that field. I mean, I'm actually in the energy sector when I work. Sometimes I do gold and I mine, but I'm not in, I'm not a minister. I'm just somebody who does business in that field. So my dad was into politics. He was in the government. He worked in that field, and he's an honorable person. Right now, my dad is a lawyer in Liberia, and he's recognized as an honorable person. Anywhere that I go out here when I'm in Liberia, if anybody doesn't know, I'm in Liberia right now as we speak. I'm in West Africa right now as we speak. I'm out here right now as we speak, and my dad is out here as well. He's a lawyer. My I've seen my dad take pictures with politicians in the States, so that's how big it was. He graduated from University of Houston, I guess in Texas, something like that. I don't know exactly, but he graduated. He passed a bar in Houston, so he's a lawyer. He's a corporate lawyer, and he specializes in energy and stuff like that. So energy and land and stuff like that. That's what he specializes in. So I had a lot to live up to when I was young, because you kind of have to, like, me and my dad I'm his junior. Like, I have his exact name. I'm like the second. So it's kind of like I have to fill in his shoes, like his footsteps. I have to follow in his footsteps. That's why everything my mom and my sisters would tell me, like, yeah, you're like, Dad, you should be a lawyer, But the way I grew up, I felt like, why would I be a lawyer? And I grew up like this. I've seen all this stuff out here, and I felt like I seen something. Not knowing I haven't seen anything yet, but they was feeling like I should have been like my dad or something. And my dad is somebody who grew up in the bush, in the interior. He grew up like in the countryside where there's like no roads, no lights, no running water, none of that stuff. He didn't have any money growing up. He was a country person. That's what we call it in Africa. You're a country person. He country. He grew up out there in the bush. You understand me? Out there's tribes, and those tribes might worship a different deity. This is how my dad grew up. So now, for me, in the States, I grew up as an American. I mean, that's all I know. I left Liberia when I was like 1. So what else is there for me to know? So I went and started living my American lifestyle, and got me in a lot of trouble. I didn't know who I really was as my identity. So sometimes I was too American for Africans, for Liberians. I'm too American. And for Americans, I was also American with them too. I won't say I was too American or too African. I had African. Maybe there's things that I'd say that they wouldn't understand, but I fit right in with Americans. Like, all of my friends were American, and I had African friends too, Liberian friends, but I related to Americans. So I started hanging around in the streets and doing things that I wasn't supposed to be doing. Now, growing up, I used to get in a lot of trouble, getting in a lot of fights in school, got held back. I started selling weed when I was 12. First time I ever smoked, I was like 7. That's how bad it is. So, and my mom doesn't even know that. I was deep in there. I grew up in Minneapolis, North Minneapolis to be specific. So after that, my upbringing, my childhood, around 7th, 8th, between 8th and 9th grade, I'll say that, I started relating to gang members and stuff in school, in high school, in junior high and high school. I started relating to gang members and started hanging around that, and started doing music, started rapping, and that influenced a lot of my early upbringing in my life like that. Now, around 11th, 12th grade, I dropped out of school, never graduated from there, got my GED. I think God was in all of that, me getting my GED too, but dropped out, got my GED. Basically, my mom was hysterical. What are you doing? You're not gonna graduate. You're just gonna be chasing after your GED. And I was like, Mom, I'm too far gone. I feel like if I try to graduate, I've never got any credits throughout high school. I was getting in fights and everything throughout my whole terms. All terms, all years, I'd get a fight or I'd get expelled. Just happened like 2 times, So I wasn't getting no credits. I would have stayed in high school for the next 2-3 years or something. Had to do it again. So this is why I just made that decision. Other than that, started selling crack in 2009. I met a guy, I'm not going to say his real name on here, but he was a best friend of mine at that time, and he taught me a lot of stuff in the streets, and I started selling crack at that time, and I was in deep doing that, 2009. And this guy was a pimp. He was running escort service, so he was teaching me how to do that as well, because I was already trying to do it before I met him, and he heard about it. Once we came around some people we both knew who was associated with some of my cousins, So these guys started liking me, and they introduced me to, I was around some GD, some gangster disciples, and we all were like, we're really in, like, we're dealing with people who control certain parts of the city who are supplying us cocaine, and we're deep in, we're in there. I used to hold guns for some of these guys when these guys were going to certain places, So, like, I was deep into that game. Do you understand me? So, a lot of what I'm sorry, you guys. I just turned the car off. A lot of what I went through as a youngster was, me getting involved into things that I shouldn't have been doing. So at this time, I'm 18, between 18 and 19. I do not believe in God. I just want you guys to understand this. This is a crucial part of the story. I do not believe in God at this point. All right? So I don't believe in God at this point. I used to say God was the universe. If you'd ask me, man, God's the universe, that Jesus stuff, I'm not trying to hear that stuff, man. God's the universe. So a lot of my friends who used to know me when I was younger, they'd be like, what is this dude? This dude's wilding right now. He's out of control. Because I'm somebody who used to believe in God when I was coming up. I used to notice certain things, like God would hear my prayers. When I was younger, I'd pray and then things would happen. But for some reason, when I got older and I started like being involved more in the streets, like I was like, man, this stuff can't be real for some reason. I don't know what it was. I think it was the devil or something like that. But I was deep in there, and I wasn't believing in God at that time. So when everything popped off, it was bad. It was bad, So I met this girl who, she has a kid for me. She's my baby mom, but we're not together right now. I had prayed to God for him to give me a prostitute. You see, it's crazy because I wasn't believing in God, but that day I prayed. It was in the night. I prayed to God for him to give me a prostitute, for me to, prostitute, get money out of her. We had an escort service, So I prayed for that, and here comes my baby mom. All right, out of nowhere, messages me on text. I'm like, okay, I message her back. She says, I could come visit her. She tells me where she lives. I'm like, all right, I'll pull up on you. And so I pull up on her, and one thing led to another, and she started coming to my house and stuff. So when that happened, I think I'm like 19 at this time. I had turned 19, yeah. So now she comes over, we hang out for 2 days. In those 2 days that we hang out, I have a dream. In those exact 2 days, I have a dream that I'm running, and I'm running with a gun in my hand in the snow. Remember, I don't believe in God. Even though I prayed and told God to give me that, I believe God's the universe, stuff like that. I'm running with a gun in my hand through the snow. In a dream, I throw the gun in the snow, and I leave. I go to this other place, and then I'm in this building, and inside of this building, I go inside. There's I see my baby mom in there, who wasn't my baby mom at the time, and she has a gun. She has a purse. Matter of fact, she doesn't have a gun. And there's a police officer that walks in there. He comes in, and she opens the purse and takes out a gun. That's what happens. and she gives it to the police officer. And the police officer looks at me and he's like, "Are you Zaid Deki?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm Zaid Deki." And he's like, "Come on, we have to go." And I'm like, "Okay." So I just follow him like willingly. I willingly follow him. And then we go outside and there's like a police car parked out in front. And I look to the right and I see all my friends like far down like the street, and they're all waving to me like this. You're waving. They all wave, and so I'm like, I wave back, you know? So when I wave back, I get in the back of the police car and closes it. And like I just see this giant gate shut. Boom. You know what I'm saying? And I see this curly hair baby, light skinned curly hair baby. And then when I wake up, you know, and I'm like, what kind of, that was a crazy, it was like vivid, like one of those type of dreams. You know what I'm saying? I wake up. So I'm like, whoa, that was a crazy dream. The heck? You know? And I tell this girl at this time, I'm going to call her name Christine, right? I tell Christine, I'm like, and she's like the guy who taught me how to do all that type of stuff. This is baby mama. So she tells me like, I'm like, yo, I had this dream last night, man. This is crazy, yo. And I had this dream. I'm like, yo, you know how crazy that is? She's like, you better be careful with her, yo. I'm like, cause yeah, she get a gun. I'm like, I had a crazy dream last night. And yo, so boom. After I tell Christine that, right, we start to me and the girl, I'm gonna call her name Ashley, my baby mom. I'm gonna show you the real name. But she starts working for me. That's a prostitute. And then here's the crazy thing. We figure out she lied about her age. She said she was 18 when I met her. She's not actually 18. Ashley is 16. I'm 19. She's 16. She's turning 17 in like a couple of months, right? But she lied. She's like a year and a half younger than what she said she was, you know? Or like 2 years younger than what she said she was. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, a year and a half, 2 years. So I'm 19. So I'm like, oh, you lied about your age and, you know, and all that. So she had already been working. But here's the crazy thing. Ashley had already worked prior to meeting me. She had already done this before. I didn't start this for her doing this. So I'm not saying this is good or anything, what I did or nothing, but it's not at any point good. So she starts working she still works for me. I hear about it. I know it's wrong. You know, I know it's dangerous. You get 30 years for stuff like this. But for some reason, I'm like, all right, she already knows the game. So, you know, she can still work. And I'm young. I'm 19-year-old mind. She's like my girlfriend too, you know. So a girl is turned 17. I'm 19. And she's working. And she's my girlfriend as well. It's crazy. You know, it's a crazy story. 9 months later, real life, right? Real life, I'm running in the snow with a gun in my hand. I had just got done shooting up this trick's house. I shot up his apartment, in the apartment complex. Went to his door, shot it up, you know. I had the gun in a bag when I was shooting to catch the shells, you know what I'm saying? And running in the snow, run outside, run in the snow, get in the car, tell my friend not to drive fast. You know what I'm saying? Drive slow like nothing ain't happening. You hear me? So this is what I tell him. So he takes me to, I tell him to drive. We're going to go to South Side, right? So we drive, and we go back over South Minneapolis. And we take the gun and we take it to his sister's house. His sister had a son. We put the gun under her son's bed, wrapped up in his shirt. I think it's a shirt or a blanket, something like that. It was a long time ago. It was a shirt. Yeah, a shirt. Wrapped up in a shirt, put it under his bed, right? So we put it under there and we leave. In real life, like a week or two later, right? Matter of fact, it's not even a week or two later. This is before I shot up his house the night before, right? That guy's house who I shot up the trick. Let me tell you the story on that. Maybe I didn't explain that. Before I shot up this trick's house, I had a dream that I was in this gym. And I'm in the gym and there's witches flying on brooms over my head. Now listen to this story. This is spiritual stuff, it's spiritual warfare. These witches are flying over my head. Okay? And while these witches are flying over my head, the gym is like halfway open into a forest. So I walk out of the gym and into the forest, and there's this person. I don't know if it's a girl or not, but they have a hood on, like Little Red Riding Hood, but it's all black. And they're going like this. Come. So I follow them. I'm following this person. And we go into the forest. The forest is getting dark. I'm like, where are we going? I'm keep asking this person where we're going. They don't want to say anything. They just keep going like this. They'll turn around and go like this. And I'll follow them. And then we came out of this forest to this place where the sky was red. And this person jumped down this cliff, right? So I go and I jump down the cliff too. I'm like, I don't know why I did it in a dream. I couldn't control it. It just happened. So I jumped down the cliff too. And when I jumped down the cliff, I didn't see the person in the hood no more. They're gone, right? So then I turn around, and when I turn around, it's like it's like the side of, like the side of a mountain or cliff or something like that. There's a wall right there. There's rocks, and there's a goat head, like with the horns on it. You know what I'm saying? And I look at the goat head, right? And it's like horns on it. It's like a goat head with horns, right, on there. And it's like a gate, but it's just what it is. There's like no gate bars or nothing. It's just a goat head with the horns. And then it like swallows me, like, right? It swallows me. And then boom, I'm in this cave. I turn around and try to do the wall, but there's no way out of there. There's no way out of there, right? And I'm like, what the hell? Yo, let me out of here. And then I turn around and I see this big, I'm talking about, have you ever seen that Spider-Man movie? I think it was like Spider-Man 2 or 3 or something like that. It gotta have been Spider-Man 2 or 3. Where, I don't know exactly, 1, 2 or 3. It's not 1 though. Where they had the sand guy. And he'd be big. He'd get big. But this was like the sand guy, but he was made of fire. And he was like, I got you now. And it was loud. And he was laughing like that. I was like, oh my God. I was scared. I was like, Then in the dream, I was like, I gotta wake up. I slapped myself in the dream. Boom. Right? And when I slapped myself like that, boom, my face turned. In real life, like my face turned. I'm laying down and I'm looking into the face of my baby mom laying in the bed. It's a true story. So I'm laying in the face of my baby mom laying in the bed. So then, boom, I get up, right? I'm like, what kind of dream is that again? So that night, that day when I had that dream, that night I went and shot up that trick's house. Now, 2 weeks later, there was this girl. Her name is China. That's what we're going to call her. She starts working for me. China's like 20 or 21, right? She starts working for me as an escort, right? And China, my baby mom gets mad about China. I'm like, man, get out of here. I try to shrub her on, get out of here, right? And she ain't going for it, right? She starts to trip out, right? So we had moved all the way to the suburbs somewhere. And when we moved out there, she's tripping. So she's like, yo, take me to my grandma's house. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to take you to your grandma's house. You don't want to be here because she's working. She's going to work. She's on the team. She's on the stable. This is what I was telling her. I take her to her grandma's house. She takes the phone like, all right, you know what? I'm still going to answer calls for her, right? For some reason, I thought like, don't give her that phone. But then I'm like, you know, my young stupid self, you know, gives her the phone. Man, this girl went, called the police. Matter of fact, she ain't called the police. She texted me right as soon as I pulled off. She said, boom, you're, she was like, I ain't doing this, boom, boom, boom. I'm about to come over there and get my phone there from you. She like, you better not come over here, this and that. So I called my cousin. I'm like, look, get rid of that computer. She looked like she about to do something stupid. The computer to the house, you know. I was trying to get rid of like stuff that was in there. So boom. When I left and went back with my homeboy to get the phone from her house, they called police. Police come over there and they pulled their guns out on me. And they told me get down the snow, and she told them I had a gun, and she told them everything. She told them I shot up a guy's house. She told them I was a pimp. She told them I was selling crack. She tells them everything. So I go to jail, and this is where I meet Jesus at. All right, so I go in there, and it doesn't hit me yet. So when I'm in there, I'm like, it hasn't hit me. So when first night I get in there, I'm chilling, like I'm trying to have fun. I walk in, it was already late. It was already on lockdown. I walk in, I go in the cell, I'm talking to my cellie, yeah. I didn't even go to sleep. We open the door in the morning, I come out, get my breakfast. I'm sitting at the table eating, talking to people and stuff like that. I've never even been in jail before. This was the first time in county. Like, it's like, hadn't hit me like this is serious. Like, because I was so far in the streets, like I felt like this was a part of it. Like I didn't even care. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't scared or nothing, you know? So I'm in there because I already felt like I've done everything. You know, like this is what happens when you're in the streets, you know? So I feel like, you know, so that happens. You know, I sit in there and I go to court because I got to go to arraignment. So they charge me with promoting prostitution, terroristic threat, second degree assault with a deadly weapon. They charged me with all those things, you know, domestic violence, and even though, you know, she lied about that part. But this is when it gets real. One day I'm in the room, my cell, let me say the room. I'm in a cell, and I hear, yo, that's that dude. That's dude out there. That's dude. So I'm like, man, who they talking about out there, man? So I go outside, and I look up, man, and I see I see myself on the news. I see my face. I see myself on the news. So I see myself on the news. I'm like, what? You know, like they're trying to give me 20-something years. I shot up somebody's house and this and that. And I immediately say, look, I ain't do it. To the people who are in the jail. Like, man, I walked in my room and closed the door when I seen that. It's like, what? This is serious. They about to give me 100 years. You know? So, boom. This is when I cry out to God. I say, God, if you are real, if you're really God, if there's really is God, I'm talking about tears, snot boogers popping, all that. Spit coming out my mouth, snot coming out my nose, tears, all that. All of that. You know what I mean? This is a true story now. I'm talking about all that. Crying like that. Looking up to the ceiling, all that. If you're real, reveal yourself. You gotta save me. They're about to kill me, man. They're gonna kill me. So my bill was set to $250,000. My family didn't even have that. My mom didn't have that type of money. Me and my dad could phone that money in Africa, but you know. All right, so now my dad was in Africa. I didn't grow up with him though, so you know he been having money, but he really wasn't sending money to me like that growing up. You know, he did his own thing out there. That's the crazy part. That's how me and his relationship was, but that happened. You know, I could say the next day I go out of the room and this kid walks up to me. I forget his name. He had braces though. He was a cool kid too. He hands me a Bible. And I'm like, man, how is this gonna help me, man? He was like, man, this will help. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, wow. So I didn't really read it. I don't really remember reading it, but somebody comes in the unit. He's from Liberia too, so me and him start talking. And he's a Christian. So for some reason we go in the cell together, we like become cellies and we start reading the Bible together. Like we start praying and everything. So I make bail. Like they drop my bail from 250,000 to 125,000. So we pay 10% of that. That's 12,500, and I get out on bail. When I get out on bail, like this stuff's not out of me yet. Like I'm not fully a Christian. You know what I'm saying? So I still want to be a street dude. It's crazy. Like I got a hard, stupid head, man. I do stupid stuff all the time. Even sometimes now I do something stupid. But look, I come out there. And I like basically like I try to like basically try it again. This pimping with China, you know. I'm running around. Fans start to look for me because they feel like I'm about to beat the case. You know what I'm saying? Because I contacted my baby mom, told her like, look, man, change your statement. You know what I'm saying? And I just told her like, yeah, I love you. I was lying. No, I'm lying because I don't want to go to jail. I'm like, yo, change your statement. And she changes her statement. She writes to the judge. Judge ain't going for that though. He didn't drop the no contact. He didn't drop none of that. He like, this is a serious case, and feds were looking for me. So like I had a state court date that I didn't want to miss. So I'm on a run from the FBI for like almost a month. For like 3 weeks, I'm on a run. They kicking in doors for my homeboys in different parts of the city. They looking for me, but I'm like always one step ahead of them while they're looking for me. So like for some reason, I even hide out at my house, my baby mom, because I thought they would never check over there for me because they said that why would I go over there? I get called over there, I'm going to jail, so I go over there and hide out a little bit. I go there, I'm hiding out in hotels and doing all kinds of stupid stuff, you know. So I didn't have a lot of, you know, I was deep into foolishness back then, you know. So I go to my court date and the feds are there waiting for me. They arrest me and indict me. So now the feds want to indict me with sex trafficking, human trafficking, and pornography because my baby mom had pictures on the computer. All right, and she was not quite 18 at that time. She's 17, I'm 19, you know. So they couldn't beat me with the promoting process. They know I'm going to beat that charge because she changed her statement and she's not going to come to court. But the prostitution charge sticked in the state, and they sent me to the feds with that pornography charge. Now, if anybody doesn't know, this is dangerous stuff when you go to jail with those type of charges. You know, even though I'm not a molester, nothing like that, but Christ looks at all these sexual sins as the same. He doesn't care if you, he looks at it the same. He doesn't like it. I think maybe he might not like some like the other, but I think he sees all of it as sin. You understand what I'm saying? So I go to federal prison. Now, the day while I'm in there, I was a Jehovah's Witness. I was praying with those guys because I didn't know. I'm starting to read the Bible, but they gave me a New World Translation. I'm reading that, and these Mexicans used to always tell me like, "Yo, why are you Jehovah's Witness, man? You just pray with us." And these guys used to always, they were cool too. These cool Mexicans, they always used to like me because I was cool. So why you praying with those guys, man? You should pray with us, and boom, boom, boom. I'm like, oh man, you know Jesus isn't God. I used to say Jesus wasn't God because the Jehovah's Witnesses they taught me. You know what I'm saying? So boom. After that, for some reason I go in the room. I think it was on lockdown. I started reading the Bible with myself, like a real Bible. The Jehovah's Witness dudes I used to pray with in the unit, them dudes is gone. You know what I'm saying? Like they changed them to another unit, so now there's only Christians in the unit. So like they give me a Bible, not New World Translation. So I read the Bible, and I'm like, man, wait a minute, I rarely read the Bible. I'm like, hold up, the whole thing. I'm like, no, Jesus is God. There's no way he can't be God. I'm reading it. It says he's God in here. Like, I'm not an idiot. So I'm really not stupid. I know, like, when it comes to literacy, I'm not stupid. Jesus is God. It clearly says it in here. So I read that. And then I read New World Translation. It says he's a God. I'm like, oh, they changed something. So I start praying with the Christians in there, right? I start praying with them. So here's the crazy thing that happens, right? So one day, like, I get sentenced, and then they give me my time for the pornography charge, because this happened. This is dangerous, I'm telling you. And I know people in the comment section might be like, oh, you're a chomo. I'm not a chomo. You know, I used to be involved in the streets, and it was prostitution and stuff like that. And yeah, my baby mom was not 18 when she was working for me. She was 17. But guess what? I was 18, 19 years old, and all this was happening. I was only like 2 years older than her, not even a full 3 years. So, you know, I was into that. Like, it wasn't like, you know, it was something that happened like that. So, I get sentenced, and I pray when I get back from court. They bring me back, and I pray to God. I tell God, I say, God, I just got sentenced, and I'm scared. About to go to real prison. This is serious. You know, people die in prison. People get stabbed, you know, and these guys were not making it any easier to the guys in the unit. They used to like me, but they used to be joking with me, but it was kind of serious jokes. Like, they'll be like, oh, yeah, they're stabbing guys. Oh, it's when you get off the plane be going like this. And I'm scared. I'm like, oh, all these things are going to happen? I'm like, oh, my gosh, man, this is crazy, you know? So I pray to God, and I tell him I'm scared. I go to sleep. When I go to sleep, I wake up around like 3 in the morning. And we go to sleep around 9:45, like that, going to 10, 9:45. I lay down in the room, I go to sleep, and I wake up in my bed at like around 2:30 to 3. And I don't wake up at that time ever. I wake up around 4 every morning, because they come and do count. So while I'm in that counting, I'm like, why did I get up? And I don't even feel like I've been sleeping. I know that feeling, because when God's ready to do something, sometimes it happens to me now. So I lay down, and I'm like, I wake up, I'm up really laying in the bed, like, why am I up right now? Then like this, I freeze, like I'm paralyzed, like sleep paralysis, but it's not quite the same. I don't feel an evil presence, but I'm awake, but I'm just laying there, and I feel like static in a current. I'm hearing an electrical current through my ears, and I feel static in my body. Then I just see something like pass through the wall and walk to me, and it's walking, and it's wearing white, and it just bends down. I can't see its face like that, and it bends down, and it says, like, don't be scared. Jesus will be with you. God will be with you. And then it moves. And then I wake up. I get up. I'm like, whoa. I just prayed a couple hours ago, and I got a message back telling God I was scared. I said, don't be afraid. Jesus will be with you. God will be with you. That's part 1 of my testimonial. Part 2, I'll post that later on tomorrow. All right, guys. From Pimp to Jesus. Thanks.